From Code 3, the Firefighters podcast, this is a special report. Now, here's Scott Orr.
Today, June 30th, 2019, marks the 6th anniversary of the line of duty deaths of 19 members of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot crew. They were killed while fighting the Yarnell Hill fire south of Prescott, Arizona. The 20-man crew, the only certified interagency hotshot crew that was part of a municipal fire department, that would be the city of Prescott, was trapped in a canyon when fast-moving flames overran their position. The flames were so intense that their emergency shelters were not enough to protect them. Only one man, McDonough, who was assigned to be the crew's lookout, was not in the canyon and survived. On Saturday, June 29th, I visited the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center in Prescott. June 29 marked the first anniversary of what locals call the Hotshot Museum. A lot of people turned out, drawn partly by the Central Arizona Honor Guard and pipes and drums. Firefighter Doug Copenhaver of the Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority is a bagpiper.
Our whole purpose is to bring honor into our profession, especially when we lose people, in the line of duty. What we do is we mark their passing. That's why, unfortunately, most people associate bagpipes with only sadness because they've seen them at funerals. They think of, death, and just it makes people sad because that's all they associate it with. So part of our job is to mark the passing of the ones we lose, but the other part of our job, and the most important part, is to celebrate their lives. What we do is celebrate what these guys did in life and carry on their memory.
The museum attracts both locals and tourists, all looking for a better understanding of the men and the events that led up to their untimely deaths. Here's board member Dennis Bushell, a retired California firefighter.
They have questions, and next thing you know, we spend quite a bit of time giving a little more background and stories about the center, firefighting, and some of the things that firefighters have to deal with.
But the volunteers who work with the public don't go into detail on the deaths.
They want to know a lot of how it happened and who did what, and we don't go answering those questions. That's not why we're here. It's more of telling them the story of the individuals and some of their goals, what they wanted to do, and remembering them.
Captain Tom Haney of the Mayor Arizona Fire Department and the president of the United Yavapai Firefighters said commemorating the date of this death of the crew is tough every year.
It gets a little easier every year, but this month, every year, it's very challenging. You're meeting with everybody again. You're holding memorials. You're really in tight with the families, and you're feeling their pain. That they're in different levels of grief and they're moving on in their different ways, but there still always is a pain. There always is that.
Gather enough people from Prescott to talk about the Granite Mountain Hotshots, and eventually the subject of the movie about them will come up. Haney said Only the Brave was as accurate as a Hollywood film could be. He recommended that people who've not yet seen it take a look, especially those who knew the crew and are still hurting.
You can't really heal until you do. The end doesn't change, but by knowing them and knowing what they were doing and why they were doing it, and that the firefighters are still doing it. Right now, one of the biggest fires in the state's history is going on as we speak. Arizona and the West is wildfire country, urban interface.
A city the size of Prescott could not help but be devastated by this loss. The Granite Mountain crew made up fully 1/4 of the Prescott Fire Department. Everyone here knew at least one member or a family member. The city is determined to keep their memory alive. We will never forget. I'm Scott Orr. Thanks for joining me on this special edition of Code 3.
This has been a special edition of the Code 3 podcast. For more information and to subscribe, go to code3podcast.com.